Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pat's Pulpit postseason pregame show. I am Rich Hill, and as always, I am here with my good friend, Alec Shane. Alec, we're finally here to talk about the New England Patriots in the playoffs. Before we start jumping into the matchups this weekend, how you doing?
I'm all right, buddy. It's been a while. Haven't seen your beautiful face in a couple of weeks. We had the bye week,
thanks,
and we missed the Jets game, and so we haven't done this in a couple of weeks, but it's good to be back into it. The postseason is finally here. The playoffs are here. A lot of Patriots fans believe the season doesn't actually start until mid-January in the divisional round. So for those of you who've been sleeping for the past 3 months, time to wake up. Let's play some football.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. And the first game on the schedule this weekend of the divisional round is the 6th seed Atlanta Falcons on the road against the number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC. The Falcons have been looking pretty good as of late. Their offense is finally figuring out what to do, and their defense has really stepped it up down the final stretch. They beat the Los Angeles Rams in their opening game on Wild Card Weekend. And then you got the Philadelphia Eagles that don't really know what's going on with their offense. Nick Foles is just atrocious compared to Carson Wentz, and they finally just can't do anything on offense. Do you think that this is a game where the Falcons can upset, quote unquote, the number 1 seed Eagles, even though the Falcons are technically the favorites?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know the last time a 6 seed was favored on the road against the 1 seed, but it's really, really too bad. I mean, Carson Wentz was the runaway MVP candidate throughout the first half, maybe 3/4 of the season. I think the Eagles were the feel-good story of the year. Philly's a good sports town. The way the Falcons played last week against the Rams, against a good Rams team that people kind of slept on all season, I just don't know if the Eagles have the offensive firepower with Foles to compete with the Falcons, especially as you mentioned, the defense has kind of turned a corner. They're still not an elite defense. They're not shutting people out, but they're making enough plays to get the offense back on the field where they can make plays. And if it comes into an offensive shootout, which it might do given the kind of the way these teams both play, I don't see the Eagles keeping up.
Yeah, well, I feel the Eagles right now is kind of the discount Jacksonville Jaguars, where their offense is just as bad, but their defense is not as impressive as Jacksonville. You can't expect the Philadelphia Eagles defense, even though they're a very good unit, you can't expect them to carry a team to victory like you could with the Jaguars. With at least Jacksonville, maybe there's a chance of a defensive score or two to keep it a close game. I don't really see that happening. I do believe that the Eagles are going to just come up short at home. I mean, once Carson Wentz went down, the winds went out of their sails. I expect the Falcons to win this one. Maybe it won't be comfortable. Maybe it'll be like a last-minute sort of stop, but I do think that the Falcons will be on top at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree with that, unfortunately. And it's funny because, I think everyone had the Patriots-Eagles for the longest time, the Super Bowl 2004 rematch. Don't see that happening this year. However, I think, in my opinion, the much more intriguing NFC game is the next one, Saints-Vikings, tomorrow at 4:40 p.m., I believe. The Vikings are one of those teams that no one really knows exactly where they are because Case Keenum is on no one's radar in September, but their defense is lights out. Their home field advantage is huge. Keenum is a legitimate starter. He's efficient. He's getting the job done. The Saints are, in my opinion, the most dangerous NFC team in the playoffs right now. So this should be a great matchup. What are your thoughts on this one, Rich?
Yeah, well, from a Patriots perspective, I would love to see the Saints get knocked out just because I think their offense matches up very, very well with the Patriots defense. You have Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, who are, for my money, the best running back duo in the NFL. They both have over like 1,200 yards from scrimmage. That's probably the biggest strength against the Patriots' weakness. New England is just really struggling against running backs. They don't have someone who can cover them out of the backfield, and they're not doing they're not playing well against the run up the gut. So the Saints really match up well against the Patriots. So I would like to see the Vikings come out on top. The question is, how do you think the head coach and quarterback combination of the Vikings match up against that of the Saints, where you have Zimmer, who is a great head coach for the Vikings. He's done a tremendous job with them. I mean, they're on their 3rd string quarterback, and they're the number 2 seed. They have a real shot at playing at home, honestly, through the Super Bowl because Minnesota is hosting the Super Bowl. And if the Eagles get knocked out, Vikings could just stay at home for the rest of the year. So you have that and Case Keenum, who wasn't on anyone's radar, as you said. But other sideline, Drew Brees, Sean Payton. This is a great offense against a great defense. I think that this is going to be just such a high-scoring affair. This will come down to whichever team has the last possession. We've talked about on our podcast, certain teams just have it. They have the it factor. They maybe you can't explain it until after the year with what it exactly was that made them successful. But I think the Vikings have it. they have the vibe. So I'm going to go with the Vikings pulling out a last-second win over the Saints in dramatic fashion.
Wow, that vaunted Case Keenum, Drew Brees matchup's really getting to you, Rich. I love it.
Oh, it's in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the Vikings win, A, because, again, Saints are the team I fear the most in the postseason on both conferences, and B, just as like a casual observer, what a logistical nightmare for the NFL having to have the Minnesota Vikings host the NFC Championship game. That's a very, very short turnaround between that and the Super Bowl. There's all these booths to build, and a lot of things have to go into getting a stadium and surrounding area ready for the Super Bowl, and they can't do that until the Vikings are finished playing with their postseason. So I would love to see just how the NFL scrambles around to get these things ready if the Vikings were to win today. I'm going with the Saints personally. I think when in doubt, bet on the quarterback. And Drew Brees with the combined running attack you talked about, I think it's too much for the Vikings. And this magical season finally comes to an end for them today.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping for one of those Minnesota Vikings revenge tours a little bit. You know, they get to take out the Saints. Remember, this was the Bounty Gate game back, was it 2010-ish? I'm not sure, 2009, whenever they had Brett Favre with the Vikings. The Saints knocked them out of the postseason. And then you go back to the 1998 postseason where you had Gary Anderson, I believe, who kicked it wide against the Falcons, and the Falcons were able to go on to the Super Bowl. So this is going to be the Vikings' year to at least make it to the Super Bowl and come up short against the Patriots. So they go 0-5 in the Super Bowl. That's my gut. Before we get to that point, though, let's look at the other AFC game where on Sunday at 1:05 p.m., the Pittsburgh Steelers, the number 2 seed, they will be hosting the number 3 seed Jacksonville Jaguars. What are your first thoughts on this game?
It's funny you mentioned revenge games, Rich, because if there's going to be kind of a revenge game narrative, the Steelers are set up perfectly for that. Starting with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got stomped at home by Jacksonville earlier in the year, a 5-pick day for Ben Roethlisberger, including 2 pick sixes. The offense of Jacksonville wasn't that efficient in that game, but they didn't need to be because I don't know anybody that throws 5 picks and 2 pick sixes and wins a game. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are very aware of what the Jacksonville Jaguars defense can do to them, even on the road like this at Heinz Field. I just don't see them duplicating that performance. I think just Ben Roethlisberger had a historically off day. Maybe he didn't sleep well. Maybe he ate something, whatever it was. I just don't see him duplicating that performance. I believe Antonio Brown's a game-time decision, so that might factor in. But even with Jacksonville Jaguars defense being what it is, the strength they have, if you look at the offensive performance last week against the Bills, they were atrocious. It was a 10-3 snoozer. It's not like the defense has stepped up that much. It was just bad offense on both sides of the ball. And if Blake Bortles runs for more yards than he passes again tomorrow, I just don't see the Jaguars winning.
Yeah, this is going to be a very difficult game for the Jaguars to win if Blake Bortles does what he did against the Bills. And you have to look back at what he did against the Steelers back in Week 5. I believe he only threw for 95 passing yards. So they didn't really need him back then either, but they needed Leonard Fournette to have a huge game in Week 5. They'll need to have their running game really emerge again against the Steelers. And the Jaguars are going to have to use a similar strategy that I would expect them to use against a team like the Patriots, where you run the ball a lot, you control the clock, you don't allow the opposing offense, you don't allow Ben Roethlisberger to have too many possessions because you want to keep it a low-scoring affair. You got to play the randomness and the odds where if the Steelers only have 8 possessions throughout the game, maybe they'll score on 2 or 3 of them. But you can keep it a game in that circumstance if they come in a little under their expectation on those drives. And so Steelers need to make sure that they score on all of their opportunities. Jaguars, I mean, that's like kind of a John Madden thing to say. You got to score when you have the ball. But the Jaguars want to just play the randomness. They want to hold the ball as much as possible. Fournette is going to have to just grind and grind and grind. And, we can throw Chris Ivory into there. We just need the Jaguars to win the time of possession, like 40-20. And then they'll have a chance at winning, because I do think that their defense will step up, especially if Antonio Brown, who should be a game-time decision, as you said, he's probably going to be a little bit limited. He's not 100% healthy. He's not fully ready to go. And then you got 2 all-pro cornerbacks with the Jaguars, and A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey. So the Jaguars do match up well against this Steelers team. I think it should be a good one. I think that will be lower scoring than a lot of people expect. I do believe that the Steelers will ultimately pull this off at the end, but it'll be something ugly like a 17-14 slugfest.
Yeah, I agree with that kind of score and game and prediction. The good thing about that, either way, I feel like either team, they're both going to be beat up after this game. This is not going to be a pretty game. A lot of hard hits, a lot of slugging it out in the trenches, a lot of running games, very exhausting kind of game, which will bode well for the Patriots, assuming, of course, They beat Tennessee Titans, which is what we're here to talk about. 8:15 tonight, this game kicks off. I believe this playoff really worked out well for the Patriots in terms of who lost last week, who got the bye, who didn't. The Patriots had to play the Titans, and I don't think anyone saw this one coming. I figured the Chiefs would come in, and the Chiefs, Rich, terrified me. Game, a deep threat in Tyreek Hill, the second best tight end in Travis Kelce, and a quarterback in Alex Smith, who's very happy to drive down the field in 16, 17 plays. However, huge upset. Marcus Mariota throwing the ball to himself. Derrick Henry had a mess. The Chiefs collapsed down the stretch. Patriots, I believe, are 13-point favorites to open this game up, which is a pretty absurd spread for a playoff game. How do you feel right now? Are you very confident going in? You nervous at all? Anything kind of raising red flags for you against the Titans team?
Yeah, well, I only have one hesitancy about this game, and if that is the case, then I feel pretty good. You know, with most games, most opponents with the Patriots, you can think, all right, there's like a few things you could see going wrong for the other team to upset New England. This, I only see one. We can break down the offense of the Titans right now, and I'm curious to hear who you even know on that team. But there's only one matchup that I am afraid of with this Titans team, and it's Derrick Henry going around the edge. So Derrick Henry is currently their leading player on offense because DeMarco Murray is not going to play. DeMarco Murray led the Titans in yards from scrimmage in the regular season. They don't have their top offensive player. So they have Derrick Henry, who, you know what, for his money, he just came off of a 191-yard game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So he can produce. He can do a really good job at that. And if you look at his production over the course of the regular season, he was one of the top 5 running backs at producing yards going to the outside, going around the tackles to the outside. He's one of the top 5 players at doing that. Hint, hint, Deion Lewis was one of those as well. But you look at the Patriots' weakness on defense. New England ranked 32nd in the NFL at stopping the run to the outside. That means that you have a strength of the Titans going up against the biggest weakness of the Patriots is stopping runs to the outside. We can't blame it all on Kyle Van Noy because they've actually been better at stopping the run to the outside over the final quarter of the season. They were worse with Van Noy on the field, so I have no idea what their solution is going to be. And so if the Titans have one path to victory against the New England Patriots, it will be Derrick Henry churning out yards after yards after yards to the outside, and the Patriots not having to answer to the 6'3", 250-pound bowling ball of a running back. And that's the only way that the Titans are going to be able to win, is if they can control the clock that way, if they can set up favorable opportunities on second and third down, take a few home run shots, despite not having too many home run players on the roster other than cornerback Adoree Jackson. And if that's what the Titans need to do to win, I don't see them being able to stick to that plan and succeed with it for 60 minutes.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, Rich, those stretch runs, that run game, it does set up the play action, but it also sets up another weapon they have, which is Mariota as a mobile quarterback. He's a good runner, and you see a couple, if you watch the All-22 of the Chiefs game, the Chiefs used a lot of robber packages where they had a linebacker kind of spying Marcus Mariota and Derrick Henry, and when Henry would run on a crossing route or a shallow route in the flat, the linebacker would be drawn off to cover him, which would allow Mariota a nice even path to run up the field and pick up a first down. We've all seen quarterbacks this year against the Patriots pick up yards with their legs. Josh McCown is on that list of quarterbacks. So running against the Patriots is relatively easy to do if you're a quarterback or a running back going to the outside. And as you mentioned, I think their biggest receiving threat is Eric Decker. I think he's probably their number 1 receiver behind Delaney Walker, the tight end. They've got some other guys. I've got a list here because I didn't know who they were.
Rashard Matthews
and Tywan Taylor and Eric Weems. These are not household names at receiver, but they can churn the ball with their legs. Mariota can make plays with his legs. He is accurate at times. He's kind of a boom or bust quarterback in that respect. But if you are just running down the field with Derrick Henry and he gets going and the play action starts working and a couple of bootlegs to Mariota and a couple of dump-offs to Decker and Delaney Walker, that's a very good recipe for a very long drive that ends in at least 6 points, and you cut Tom Brady's possessions in half, and before you know it, he's getting flustered, and who knows? Again, will that happen though, Rich? That's the question. Can they do that for a full 60 minutes?
Yeah, and I don't think they can. The reason that I was so concerned about the Patriots playing the Kansas City Chiefs was the fact that, sure, they have a great running game, just as great as the Titans. I mean, Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray, I know Murray isn't playing, but their combination, you put out Kareem Hunt, you know what, they're both very good run games. But what made the Chiefs even more of a threat in my mind was the fact that they had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce down the field as very possible home run threats. Kelsey can go 75 yards. Tyreek Hill can go 100 yards. They're capable of taking advantage of those second and third down opportunities when they have short yardages. They can take those home run shots because they have the personnel. They don't have that with the Tennessee Titans. Delaney Walker is a great tight end. Don't get me wrong. He's still one of the top 5 in the business. He can do it all, and he's very, very important for what they do. But he's not going to be picking up 100 yards in a single game. He's not going to do that. He's not going to be able to carry the team that way. Neither is Eric Decker. Rashard Matthews is not going to do that. And while the Patriots, you know what, you got to put Jonathan Jones against Tyreek Hill, sure. I don't know what else you're going to do. That's a complete mismatch where you have Rashard Matthews and Eric Decker and Corey Davis, who's a first-round rookie. I mean, Stephon Gilmore and Malcolm Butler and Eric Rowe, they match up very well against that trio. I think that the Patriots have the players that can stop those home runs, and that can allow them to dedicate more resources to stopping Henry and making sure that Tennessee doesn't pick up yards on first down. And so if I'm New England, if I'm Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, I'm saying on first down, I'm going to play 3 defensive tackles. I'm going to have all of them active today, but I'm going to have Lawrence Guy and Malcolm Brown and Alan Branch on the field for every single first down. I'm going to make sure that Derrick Henry does not get a single yard on first down, because I don't trust that Marcus Mariota is going to be able to convert consistently on second and long or third and long.
So if you have 3 defensive tackles, that obviously is geared towards the middle of the field, stopping any of the smashes, the A gap, the B gap. But Malcolm Brown and Lawrence Guy, they're not edge setters. So how are you using – so I guess you're going a 3-4 with the linebackers kind of disguising your blitzes and setting the edge on the outside. So who's going to be the most important factor in making sure Henry doesn't bounce one out wide?
Yeah, well, I would like to think that Marquise Flowers is going to be active, because he would be perfect to defend Marcus Mariota one-on-one, but he's been battling an illness. He's a game-time decision. It's not clear at this point in the day whether or not he will be active. He would have been my X factor. Instead, I'm going to go with Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers is the heart and soul of the Patriots' edge. He's incredibly disruptive against the pass. He does a great job setting the edge against the run, and he's going to have to do it for the entire game, because you look at the depth behind him. Sure, Adam Butler and Dietrich Wise are 2 rookies in their first postseason trip, and then you got James Harrison, who's been around the block 17 times. I don't know how many years he's been in the league. He's been around for a long time, and so he's used to this. But Trey Flowers is the most explosive. He's the most capable of the Patriots edge players. He's going to need to make sure that he does his job on a consistent basis to force Derrick Henry to go the other side of the field. And that should probably allow the Patriots defense to say, we can dedicate a little bit more resources to helping the player opposite of Flowers. Because if he has his typical standout performance like he did throughout last postseason, then he's not going to need too much help. And that'll make the Patriots defensive front even stronger.
Rich, I'm surprised now that he's finally back, you didn't pick your boy Kyle Van Noy as your X Factor. But since you didn't, I'll take Kyle Van Noy and I'll make him my X Factor. I think it's going to be important for the Patriots linebackers to keep an eye on Marcus Mariota at all times and make sure he does not extend the play with his legs. If Derrick Henry becomes a non-factor, and especially if they get behind by a couple of scores, they can't run the ball 25 times. They have to kind of play pass to catch up. And the way they extend plays is for Marcus Mariota to make plays with his legs and run the ball, probably up the middle once the coverage kind of goes out wide. So I'm hoping Kyle Van Noy can not only keep an eye on Derrick Henry as he's running back and forth and scamper across the field, but play the robber role on Marcus Mariota and limit his rushing yards as well.
Yeah, and that's a good pick as well. And you look at the Tennessee Titans offense, they're ranked 25th in the NFL on third down conversions. So if the Patriots do their job on first down, could that be my X factor too? Can I just say first down defense? If the Patriots can force the Titans into long situations, Patriots should be able to get the ball back to Tom Brady in the offense, which we'll break down just about now. They'll get the ball back to Tom, and I have all the confidence in the world that the Patriots offense is going to be capable of putting up points against this Titans defense. And you just need to get, 2 scores ahead of the Titans, and then you just eliminate their strength of Derrick Henry completely, and then New England should run away with it.
They should. And speaking of running away with it, they should be short on running backs. Deion Lewis should play. James White should play. But Rex Burkhead and Mike Gillislee are looking to be out for this game, which does factor in to a degree. I feel like passing backs is an area the Titans don't really know what to do. However, I think in general, if you just look at player for player, put a helmet on a helmet, Chris Hogan's back today. Gronkowski's as healthy as he's ever been at this point in the year. Hope I didn't just jinx anything. Danny Amendola's healthy. I just don't really see anywhere where a Titans player wins the one-on-one matchup against the Patriots, especially given Tom Brady's ability to read blitzes, the line, diagnose defenses, call the audibles. So before we really break down the Patriots offense, if you are the Titans, how are you going to approach this game defensively? Not only besides keeping Tom Brady off the field, but once he does take the field, what is your primary goal for the Titans defense today?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to get pressure on Tom Brady as early and often as possible. If I'm the Titans in the first quarter, I'm going to play tight man coverage with my secondary. That's something that they've been doing a lot of this year. And I'm just going to blitz on that defensive front. You have some good pass rushers in Brian Orakpo and Derek Morgan, and you add in Jarrell Casey at defensive tackle. You have 3 players on their defensive front that should be capable of getting a little bit closer to Tom Brady, making him feel a little uneasy. And that's what you need to do if you're the Titans to get Tom Brady off of his game, where if you get that pressure, if you hit him and knock him down a few times, he's going to start seeing and feeling ghosts. And then you can sort of ease up with the pass rush. You can send fake pressures and he'll start feeling it. But you'll be able to drop more players into the secondary, go into the passing lanes. And if you can force a few turnovers, if you're the Titans, that's what it'll take to win the game. Set up some positive field position, allow Derrick Henry to get going if you're in field goal range already. And that's probably the only path to victory for the Titans defense, is to win the turnover battle and hit Tom Brady early and often. But this is a Dick LeBeau defense. Tom Brady has had incredible success against these in the past. He knows what's coming. He knows how the blitzes work. He knows how there's going to be a vacancy. He's built up his rapport with all the receivers that know how to sit down in these open vacant zones from these blitzes, and he's just going to chip his way down the field. They're going to use Dion Lewis as an extended run game, or even James White. I could see them putting both of them in the backfield at the same time to help chip block and also have them leak out into the open field, because the Tennessee Titans allowed the most passing yards to running backs in the entire NFL. And so the Patriots have a pretty simple counter to that early pass rush, and is to throw the ball to the running backs as an extension of the run game, force those pass rushing players to slow down a little bit, and that should open up opportunities for both the play action and the run game, and other ways for the offense to open up the field for the rest of the game.
So we've got Dion Lewis, we've got James White, we've got Gronkowski. Chris Hogan is now back in. He was off the injury report later this week. All signs point to him being a go. There's also Brandon Cooks. We've also got Philip Dorsett and Kenny Britt, the 2 newbies, so to speak. Do you see these 2 guys being a factor at any point this postseason at all, or are they kind of just going to be out there for a handful of snaps total and they'll get maybe 4 catches combined?
Yeah, they're here for the hat and T-shirts. I don't think that they're going to be contributing too much. With Chris Hogan coming back, he's no longer on the injury report. You're looking at a starting 5 of the Patriots offense with Brandon Cooks and Chris Hogan. You got your Rob Gronkowski, you got your Dion Lewis, and then you have that 4th flex player that could either be a James Devlin if you're going to do the power run. It could be another Dwayne Allen out there. It could be Danny Amendola. I just don't see opportunities for Kenny Britt or Philip Dorsett with Hogan out there, because Dorsett plus Britt kind of create what Chris Hogan provides this offense, right? Because Chris Hogan has that deep threat capability that Dorsett brought to the team, but Chris Hogan has a much better rapport with Brady. And then you get into the red zone. Chris Hogan's 6'2", 6'3". Kenny Britt's tall as well. That's why Chris Hogan was one of the best red zone threats of the Patriots. And despite missing the second half of the season, I believe he's second on the team in red zone targets behind only Rob Gronkowski. So Patriots really missed him inside the red zone. They missed his rapport with Brady on those deep plays. I just don't see a role for Dorsett and Britt so long as Hogan is healthy and ready to go. I mean, the last time we saw him, I believe that was against the Miami Dolphins. He did not look great. He was more of a decoy than anything, and I have to believe that he re-injured something because he was put on ice for the rest of the regular season. He's no longer on the injury report, so I hope he's ready to go. And if he is, that means that there's no one else that's going to have to really join that offense at receiver.
You know, it's funny. People forget what a kind of dearth of receivers Brady had toward the end of the year. A lot of the guys were hurt. A lot of guys were banged up. He was throwing to Dorsett and Kenny Britt a lot more than he probably should have. And hopefully with these guys all coming back in, that he should be able to have no problem moving the ball down the field. If you are the Patriots offensive coordinator, if you are Josh McDaniels, is your focus, if you had to pick one of the two, obviously it's a mix of both. If you had to be a run-heavy offense today or a pass-heavy offense today, where does that needle skew against the Titans?
Yeah, I'm going to pass the ball a lot more, especially against this Dick LeBeau defense. They're traditionally known for being a great run defense. They've ranked in the top 10 against the run over the past 2 seasons. They're very good at stopping things up the middle, but they're also pretty weak at defending the pass. And sure, they play more man coverage than a Dick LeBeau defense normally does. Tom Brady usually picks apart the zone, but that is really only a great variable changer if the players playing man coverage are great at it. And sure, Logan Ryan's a good player, and Adoree Jackson has a lot of potential against deep threats, but they're not great at it. They're better suited for, flexing back and forth, but they're not elite man coverage players. And so that should be an opportunity for the Patriots to find the open pockets down the field. And that's why my X factor is actually going to be Brandon Cooks, because I think he will have an opportunity. He'll likely be covered by Adoree Jackson at times because they're the speedsters. They're going to counter each other. If Brandon Cooks is able to get open deep down the field a few times, reel in a few big plays, maybe even score a touchdown, I mean, the Patriots should win this one walking away if Cooks is involved.
If he's involved, I totally agree with that. However, in order for Cooks to get involved and get that deep threat, he's got to be protected and give enough time. Tom Brady does, which is why I'm going with my boy Joe Thuney as my offensive X factor today. I feel like Thuney will draw the lion's share of the matchups against Jurrell Casey, who is a monster. He's a legitimate beast. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's able to do as a defensive tackle. If he's got pressure up the middle, again, we always talk about how to beat the Patriots. It's always the same, right? Pressure Tom Brady up the middle. Don't allow him to step up, drop 7, drop 8. And Jurrell Casey is capable of penetrating the backfield and making those plays. So maybe it's not one-on-one, maybe it's a combination of Thuney and David Andrews, but I think Thuney will get the bulk of the reps against Jurrell Casey. So I need a big day from him today to allow Brady that time for Cooks to get open.
That's a really good one. I like that as well. And before we sign off, let's do some of our predictions right now. Alec, I don't know who won the last time in Week 17. Who was correct on that? But I'll let you choose the first one. Patriots are, I believe it's 13.5-point favorites. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, so the Patriots over the past couple of years haven't looked great right out of the gate in the divisional round. The bye week rust has been kind of a thing they've dealt with. I believe, in my opinion, their game against Houston last year was the worst postseason game they've played and still won. I imagine a little bit of rust coming out this year, too, to shake off some of the dust or keep tradition alive, whatever you want to call it. So maybe the game's closer than it should be through maybe midway through the second quarter. But I believe even if it's close at halftime, the Patriots kind of pull away late. And I say they cover the spread exactly. I'm going 33-20 on this one.
Oh, you swiped mine. I have the exact same thing playing out in my head. I think that the Patriots are going to come out a little bit slowly on the first couple of drives. Brady's going to need to have a few opportunities to rebuild his rapport with Chris Hogan. They're going to test the waters, see how the Dick LeBeau defense is trying to cover them. On defense, they could have a few issues when they settle down and figure out what the Titans are doing, because I would not be surprised to see the Tennessee Titans open up their playbook on the first drive or two, where they just start doing end arounds with Adoree Jackson, a few trick plays here and there. They need to do whatever they can to stay ahead of the Patriots. But once the Patriots withstand that first onslaught, I think it'll be all New England for the rest of the game. I really do think that New England will cover this one. They will pull away in that second half, and I have New England winning 33-14.
It's 33-14. It makes it a lot harder for me to win my prediction, Rich, but I'll take it. Yep. I'll allow it.
I'm trying to do that. All right, cool. Well, Alec, do you have any final thoughts on the divisional round, the Patriots versus the Titans, or anything else before we sign off?
I am looking forward to it. The playoffs are the best time of the year for a lot of reasons, and I just hope, Rich, this is not the last time you and I do one of these breakdowns.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll have all information on patspulpit.com. We'll have the game breakdown. We'll have analysis. We'll have live in-game updates and highlights if you want to watch them. And after the game, Alec and I will be hosting our 100th Pat's Pulpit podcast. So I'm looking forward to that one. And until next time, Alec, you have a good one.
See you, buddy.
Later, man.